5 maybe. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do we have any alternate members here this evening? You are, and you are. Sonia, do you know who was seated?
We can see Pat for Spence
Okay.
and Michael for Don.
All right, let's do that. Thank you. Now we have a period of public participation. If there's anyone in the audience here that would like to bring forth something to the commission that's not already on our agenda for this evening, now is your chance to do so. Yes, sir.
If I could, my name is Brian Wood. I represent the Brookhill LLC. Got an active permit with you guys after 2006. They've been able to go through since you guys issued the permit for moving all the storm debris, all the man-made debris. Oh, thank you. All the other stuff that we had marked on site. Once we had it all marked by myself and an arborist, we were able to catch up with Jordan, walk it all down. All that material got removed. There's a little bit on the south end of the property that's still to be removed. The state just mobilized on the bridge, so Dayton Construction's in. They're working on realigning the bridge that's wiped out on Georges Hill, so they're starting all that restoration. The Handelmans wanted to have me reach out to you. They're the owners of Brookhill LLC, to see if while we have machinery on site, if we could take some of the rock that's at the south end of the peninsula and start pulling it back up to armor the well that's already permitted to be armored. So that was the request of the commission, give you guys an update, let you know all area landscape, did all the clearing. I met with them, they did a nice job, didn't really have any stream impacts. And they worked in tandem with the state, so the state's machines and the town's machines were able to get those big trees out of the river, get the stumps back up in Kettletown Brook. But at this point, we decided rather than do a full design for the peninsula, let's just get a little bit of armor on the open soils where the new lightweight bridge that you guys approved is in, so we can get heat and fuel into the house. But they're looking at just pulling some of that rock and spreading it along the banks until we figure out what the state's gonna do. With their new realignment, they're looking at turning the bridge probably 30 degrees away from Handelman's garage, because right now it aims right at them. So that redesign's gonna redirect it, and the state said, once we get this new culvert in, that's the time to figure out what to do on that section of Kettletown Brook. And I told them, you got winter, you got machinery here, let's just stack some of this rock on the open soil. I'll try to update the commission, get the okay to move this rock around, and then let's just wait and see what the state does.
So they brought all the equipment in, they're gonna proceed there
They're already
shortly?
raking the culvert out when I was
They are.
there yesterday. They worked with Handelmans, and like I said, they were able to get a whole bunch of trees out of the area that were risk. So that bridge currently pointing at the garage is gonna turn about 30 degrees and actually align with the stream course, which will be
Did you
good.
finish the initial tree work that you were talking about?
All the big trees are gone. The only stuff that's left is the very end of Handelman's. There's a peninsula where the two brooks come
Yes.
together, the unnamed
Yeah.
brook and Kettletown. The very end, there's still some trees snagged on the properties line, and the state said they're gonna use the meadow off Georges Hill, and Handelman gave them permission to
Oh.
mobilize everything in there,
Oh, okay,
so that they can get that bridge fixed, otherwise they're stuck in the roadway.
sure.
So they're both working together to get
Oh,
that
that's
done,
good.
but I said, guys, you really should get the armament around the well, you know, work in the unnamed brook next to the house and just move some of this material around and get it to high water mark, so you're not still just cutting all winter. By the time the state's done with the bridge, which should be, they're saying 60 days,
Really?
which is pretty intense. I think they're bringing in a box culvert and Dayton's
They
ready.
haven't decided what angle to use yet, and they're
They-
still gonna be in 60 days?
I think they've got the design done.
Oh.
They've got an initial out of DOT, and
Oh.
essentially they got center line of river. So, you know,
Okay,
it's 40 degrees now. The state gave them an emergency permit to place a box culvert as long as it's in alignment with the current river course. So,
is it gonna be a do and a redo situation, is that what you mean? They're
no,
gonna-
there's a existing concrete culvert there.
Yeah,
That's off its footings and
Mhm.
slid over and collapsing. And Dayton was in this week breaking that up
okay,
to get it out. So they're just gonna open it up, and I think they're just gonna be able to drop a box in,
oh,
which will mean Georges Hill will be open pretty quick.
interesting.
But I said to my guys, while you got machines here, let me talk to the commission, see if in the unnamed brook, we move some of the rock that's already there around and just get it stable for the winter. you know, if we need to bring in more rock, you know, then I'd come back to you guys or say, hey, we wanna bring a little more in, but after looking at it, it looks like there's enough material in the unnamed brook to just replace it. They've already picked out all the steel, asphalt, man-made material, concrete, got all that off-site.
And then I think you said that meadow part that you're talking about, where you were gonna bring, you were gonna do some tree work from that direction as well, I think?
So I think the
Or is that
peninsula
not-
goes all the way out, they cleared the peninsula. in
Not the
order to-
peninsula, on the other side of on the north side of the brook where you have the meadow, that's on the other side there?
All that tree work's done.
That's all done?
All that snag that we saw that's there,
Yeah.
between the state and all area landscaping is who they worked in tandem with.
Okay.
And with having 2 excavators on site, they were able to hold them, cut them all up, and they just chipped the entire tree. So there's no chip
So
material on
they're
site.
gonna be storing a lot of their construction equipment in that meadow? Do you think we-
Construction and laydown might be in the meadow, but it's all gonna be dump and use, is what we agreed with the state.
Do you think we need to think about any kind of protective measures over there?
I'm hoping they're gonna be able to mobilize without really using that property. They just wanna be able to turn machinery around. Because the way it is coming into George's Hill,
Yeah.
with the new road being fixed to Kettletown, they can get up to one side of the bridge, but now with all the tree snag gone, they're just gonna be turning trucks and material around into the bridge footprint for laydown.
Well,
So we'll keep an eye on it. That was our goal, was have an excavator, you know, touch up what's in the unnamed brook, get the well armored,
yeah,
let you guys know that we're gonna be doing that, and then work with the town that any open soil that we have, once we get the unnamed brook, we're just gonna seed and straw for spring. And the same thing with Dayton. I told them, listen, you can use the land, but at the same time, if you know, there's any issues, seed and straw.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
luckily, they're doing it with frost on the ground.
Yeah, well, that's part of the problem with those flat meadows, when they get soft and that's it, you run in there with that big equipment and it's gonna be down to the axles.
On the north side of the brook that's got some pitch to it, I think, right?
So where Handelman's on the
South side of the.
south side of the brook.
Oh, okay.
The north side of the brook is the old farm that used to be there.
I'm turned around.
They've
Yep.
cleared all that up upstream, and that's what Dayton's using for a laydown now. It's right across from Handelman. They cleared it like a 300 by 300 footprint,
Okay,
and they're thinking they'll be able to use that as their laydown off of Handelman, but they got permission to be able to use both sides of the bridge.
Yep.
that's how some of those other neighbors were getting by when they were
Right, they were-
shut off on both ends there, right? They
Right.
were crossing in there.
They were going around and turning around and getting through there. So that area across from Handelman's has been cleared between the 2 brooks, the other side of the road. Like I said, probably 300 by 300. They worked with the farmer and got a laydown area from him, and then Handelman's gave him permission, if you need to bring material, you can turn a truck here.
Okay,
So I can get you guys more of an update. I just wanted to make sure we came in and chatted with you.
appreciate it, thank
Give
you.
you a heads up.
Okay,
I mean, we're okay with armoring the,
Yeah, so just some feedback. Brian's been communicative throughout this whole process, just conducting site visits with me prior to doing,
Yeah, that
you know,
falls within
really a
the
lot of extensive
application,
work.
I'd imagine, right?
Precisely.
Yep.
Yep. So I'm happy
Good.
to go out to the site and review anything and just get some extra eyes, just so this commission's comfortable, but they've been operating pretty well so far, so.
appreciate the update, thank you.
keep up the good work.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, we have about a half a dozen, new applications. 224 Cooney Road, 525 Burr Road, 78 Church Road, 8 Spruce Brook Road, 33 Burma Road, a subdivision, and 33 Burma Road, a mixed-use application. Those have all been accepted by staff at the office, and the applications are deemed to be complete enough to continue. So at the initial meeting, we usually just schedule site visits for those applications and have discussions after the site visits have been done. If there's anybody here representing any of those applications that would like to make a quick explanation or description of the applications, you may do so at this point. Okay, so that there is none, so we will schedule the site visits.
So Megan, you guys are okay?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That's-
You're on the next you're in the new business.
And Burma.
Oh, would you like to make a brief presentation, seeing as how you came, or?
I'm here.
Okay.
I know you have a lot on
That's
your
fine.
agenda today.
No, you're here?
You don't mind?
No,
I'll make it very quick.
thank you.
So, a little background.
Okay.
Before you go down your state visit.
Just your name for the record, please?
Of course, appreciate it, Brian.
Hi, thank you. Megan Miller with Civil One, project manager for this project, Coon Road. It's a simple, single-family, 6-bedroom property located in the Cooney Road subdivision that was started in 2006. It's the last lot that's going to be developed here. We do have some work in the regulated area, about 4,325 square feet, and that's just for minor grading, retaining walls, and a small portion of the patio. All of the structures, the septic system, and the building is located outside of the regulated area. Additionally, we are expecting 420 cubic yards of fill, and that's partially because it's a very steep lot, and for the minimal grading that we are proposing. We have silt fence, erosion control blankets, and stockpile areas on the plan. Stormwater is going to be handled by a modified plunge pool, and has been designed for the 25-year conveyance storm event. If you have any questions, I know you're going to go visit.
Yeah, we'll go visit and then we'll have a bunch later, I'm sure.
I'll be there.
What's the zoning on that lot?
This is the R80 district.
R80,
Yes.
okay. And it's a road frontage type lot or interior or?
It is on the cul-de-sac,
Oh,
so it's the end of the cul-de-sac, it's gonna be right here.
okay,
So if you just park right here, it's very wide open,
okay.
very steep, but there is a little bit of a farm trail that.
And do you know if there's any kind of surveyor's markers out there?
Yeah, so there's an iron pin held here, iron pins on all the property corners. And we also have the septic system staked out, should still be there, some of them might have moved from when we did soil testing.
Okay,
But those are over there to orient yourself.
all right. Anything sort of in the vicinity of the regulated areas that we can kind of see? It's helpful when we go for our visit if we know where we're standing when we're looking at the plan.
I can certainly check, and if
Okay.
you don't mind, I can call Jordan at the office to
Okay.
see what we have.
Just something to consider, and then when we go out there, it's
Yeah.
easy to define it.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then you have a secondary one as well?
I have a couple other ones, so those
That's
are-
the subdivision application?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the subdivision application at 33 Burma Road. It is on the corner of Burma and Southford Road, and the proposal is to have, yeah, pretty much. There are stone walls on this property, you can kind of differentiate
I'm
yourself.
somewhat familiar with it.
Yes, we've all driven past it for many years. And the proposal, this property is going to be approved for a free split.
Okay.
So the lower level, the lower property with access on Burma Road, would be for a proposed three lot subdivision for residential use. 2 duplexes, which is allowable for this zone, and then a single family building with a detached ADU. This does have some additional minor grading within the regulated area, specifically for the stormwater system and for, I think the entire septic system is located outside. Yes, the entire septic system is located outside of the regulated area, but it's mostly for minor grading, and for their stormwater. And also on lot 1, there is no regulated area, so it's really just these two
Okay,
structures.
great.
So that's the 3 lot subdivision.
Okay,
You want to bear with me?
sure.
We then have the upper property that is complete access on 67, a proposed mixed use. So this is a 10,857 square foot mixed use building. The first floor would be retail offices, and the second floor would be 10 units, separate residential units. This has regulated area and wetlands, but none of our proposed work is to take place within it. The septic system over here is again outside of the regulated area. We are
activities on that one?
So there is no work within regulated
Okay.
activities, but we're here.
Just for the drainage or whatever?
Yeah.
And that's in a commercial zone?
So that's part of it. Part of the property is in the commercial property, the properties, Southford Design District, with the 30 zone. And then our proposal is to, go through zoning and get a zoning map amendment. So this property would be completely in the B1A zone with the Sunford Design District overlay, and then the 3-lot subdivision, which is in the R30 zone. So residential within residential, business within business.
Okay.
Very clear.
Good,
So,
thank you.
thank you. It's very wooded over here.
Yes,
Yep.
We'll bring our boots and
Yes.
tick spray and all that.
Is that owned by Gary?
Thank you guys.
I'm sorry?
Is that owned by Gary
Gary who?
Diamond?
I don't know.
Any questions?
Yep.
With now?
That's it, I think.
Mr. Chairman, I live in the first one, the Cooney Road subdivision, so I'd like to recuse myself from that.
Yeah, we're not really gonna be having any discussions on
Right,
that tonight.
that's what I figured, but go on the record.
So, but going forward, we'll note that at the next meeting.
Thanks.
And then we'll have you get up from this table and sit over there while we discuss it. And
Sounds
we'll
good.
step you down and then we'll step you back in again.
Thank you.
Yeah, it'll just be for that one,
Yeah, it's just for
you'll-
that one.
Just for the
In and out.
voting
Yeah.
on that.
So don't think you got the whole night off or anything. You still have to show up and help us go through the rest of them, all right?
All right.
Thank you very much. All right. They'll be in touch about site visits. All right, old business, 355 Berkshire Road. I'm assuming we've had a site visit at that location? Anybody? Thad? Would you
Yes.
like to give us, Berkshire
Me.
Road? No, it wasn't me.
Dan,
Either of you like to comment on it?
Yes, as I'm sure everybody's aware of, that whole area is fairly compact. You know, it was built long before any of our regular statutory requirements took place. That being said, that this gentleman that owns the property is selling the property, but he can't sell the property until the existing leach field has been, and tank have been removed and replaced with up-to-date, because I believe the house was 30-some years, 40 years old, so it's been there for a long time. It has tagged the inland wetland areas, and this existing system that's there goes a little bit into that area, but it's a very shallow, there's no slope to it to speak of, and there really aren't any, this house, along with the house next door, are sharing a driveway. I mean, it's a very compact area, so there's really no way to go and put another septic system in and a septic tank. The septic tank is gonna be roughly where the present septic tank is. The septic field is gonna be in the area with a little bit more square footage than the existing one, but basically the same exact place.
yeah, there's a
So
small amount of fill that needs to be put in there, that's, you know, just to kind of level that off after they have enough over top of the septic once they're done installing it. So,
But, you know, I mean, I don't wanna say hands are tied, but, I mean, this is a situation where it's, I think they're choosing the best path, trying to take the precautions that they don't just arbitrarily plow under there with big, heavy equipment, so.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, the inland wetlands usually doesn't have too much to comment about septic repairs because if they have an okay from the health department, that's usually what we're looking for here at the commission. It appears as though they have done or are in the process of doing that. They have the plans here. So on those small properties that you mentioned, oftentimes there's not many options to do things differently than they were done originally.
And I mean, regrading in that area, it's a little brushy, but,
Yep.
yeah, I don't see any,
And,
significant impacts to that.
We don't have a draft resolution for any of these, so we can just make a motion, and then I guess I'll make a motion then to approve it according to our normal draft resolution. Any
I second it.
questions, discussion, anything? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries, thank you. The next one is the Town of Southbury Public Works Department. This one might require a little discussion from the commission. Matt is not here this evening, I guess. So basically, Tom and I met with Matt in the conference room upstairs, and Matt's representing the Public Works Department for the town. They have been requested, suggested, or whatever from FEMA that they should get a permit from the commission for all of the storm damage repair work that they're doing on the roadways and catch basins and some of the water courses and so forth. So we had a discussion for a few minutes. I did write up a little report on it. I don't have, personally, I don't really have an issue with the concept of what they would like to do, but the commission might want to think about putting some sort of guardrails on this so that they understand what we're approving and we understand what they're doing out there, I guess, so to speak. So can we table this until we can maybe sit down and have another discussion with Public Works, or because, so what I got out of this was the application is for maintenance and restoration, and their proposed activity is maintenance and replacement of various elements of the town road and drainage systems. That's pretty vague in my book, and he was also talking about doing some stream bank restorations and that sort of thing. They're estimating 2,000 cubic yards of debris that needs to be removed for these projects, and they're estimating they'll be using about 1,000 yards of riprap. So while perhaps not the largest project, it sounds like they have a lot going on in a number of various locations, and I'm thinking that we need to have a little more discussion with them to, what's your thoughts, Tom?
I agree. I mean, we did discuss with Matt the possibility of putting limitations on how far away upstream and downstream, if they were working on a culvert, that we could approve under a blanket
Yeah.
permit for them to perform work without having to come back to the commission. But if they found that they were gonna be impacting, say, more than 100 feet away from an existing culvert in either direction, that they would have to come back and give us at least, or at least submit something to the commission.
Yeah.
You know, that these are the proposed limits beyond what we've been approved to do work, things of that nature.
So but maybe if we can just take a few minutes now, and if anyone has thoughts on how we might quantify this application a little bit.
100
Well-
feet sounds generous to me,
What's that?
but
It's generous.
100 feet away from
Usually
a
it's
crossing
50,
or-
usually it's 50 feet.
I mean, the problem is we don't have like any sort of standard, when we have a driveway washout, if a resident came in, we'd ask them for an application for each individual thing they're doing.
Yeah,
And while I don't wanna hold up Public Works,
no. Well, I think.
they're looking for some sort of blanket where we're not,
Tying their hands.
Yes, I would agree with that statement. They are looking for something blanket. However, I would argue that Public Works kind of has to operate in that capacity, and they don't have the ability to individually hand in applications for every project. What I would recommend is having a standard either reporting requirement from the Public Works Department to my office, whether it be me and Blake are touching base once a week, once a month, every other week, just to discuss projects upcoming, to determine what requires eyeballs and what really is ancillary to standard public works maintenance work, and address the needs on a case-by-case basis from that perspective. That's my recommendation, however the commission
Would you
feels.
anticipate them doing this repair work out of the road right-of-way in some instances?
No, I truly wouldn't anticipate that, because standardly, Public Works does not operate anywhere outside of the town right-of-way, which is
Okay.
predominantly held right outside of the road
So I
limits.
mean, as is now, they kind of have carte blanche to clean basins and, you know, catch sediment ponds and that sort of thing.
That's minor maintenance,
Anyway,
yeah. It's the larger stuff. It's the stream bank restoration, it's the stabilization, it's those things that when they pop up to this commission and that we weren't aware, that's when we were having issues
Yeah,
years past. But we've, brought together the heads of the departments and kind of got on a standard system. So I think as of right now, we are operating with a communicative level and a good relationship between the two departments. I'd like to continue that.
absolutely.
My way of handling that is just to make sure that the constant communication between myself and the department head with Public Works is consistent across the board. And if I need to conduct any site visits or have a commissioner meet me out there
Okay.
to address certain issues that may arise, or a large project that was unforeseen and then came up that it needs to be immediately addressed, we can,
So perhaps what we can do then, instead of sending this down the normal routine with our boilerplate, approval,
language.
perhaps we need to generate something specific for this.
I'm happy to.
Something that would say that the commission understands or grants the right to do X, Y, and Z, and,
With the expectation that
yeah.
certain
'Cause the
updates
ones
are
that we
required.
have for private people doesn't really
And if we were to
work for
address that,
Public Works Department.
it would be as vague as possible. And
Right.
you're right, it would give carte blanche to do effectively
So-
anything. So I will refine a resolution
Okay.
specifically for this that'll elaborate on a reporting schedule, how often we're getting updates and the list of projects to be
Okay.
anticipated coming up, as well as standard expectations of normal work
Okay.
and what is expected to be outside of that, where consultation, review, and discussion may need to evolve.
Okay, and then when you get that far, you can show it to them and see
Mhm.
if it meets their needs. for
Meets their needs,
what they're-
addresses what they need. If they can meet us in that same regard, yes,
Yeah.
we're happy to report to you as much as you need, whatever the
Okay.
case ends up being, but I think that's a great way of
Okay, I
addressing
think
this.
that's kind of where we need to go with that
And we
one.
do have time to table this and get that all
Yes, we'll
clarified.
continue it until our next regular meeting. We need to vote to do that?
I was just gonna say, we didn't get a vote for the first one for 1744,
What did I miss?
the vote,
For what?
the approval for 355 Berkshire.
Carl made a motion and
Okay.
Commissioner
Okay.
Laflamme
Yep.
seconded.
Then we all voted,
Okay, I'm
Vote
sorry.
on it. We might
We
not
all-
have
we
a
all did
second,
vote
but
it.
we
Yep.
did vote
Okay.
on that.
Correct, yep.
All right, so, let's see. All right, this next one is 314 Southford Road, and this is Ms. Sullivan for debris removal. So we had a visit for that one as well, right?
Yep, Thad and I went out to take a look at that. They are in the process of working on getting their crossing straightened out. And I
Okay.
think there's a long driveway where that water just pushed all kinds of trees and logs and everything in its way.
Yep.
Slammed it right into all this woods in between their driveway and where the channel is now.
Okay,
And they're looking to take that debris out of there, I guess.
all right,
They don't have a crossing, so the other, I guess, point to that was they were gonna utilize a crossing from a neighbor's property, this is the way I remember it anyways. Through a neighbor's property where, when Eversource came through and repaired their
power,
power, they armored the stream bed with logs of some sort, I'm sure. And I was told that the logs were still on site and they were gonna put that back in so they can get their machine back across. 'Cause
They're
there's,
gonna like make a corduroy road to drive the machine
yep,
over?
and instead of just driving through, I mean, it's as disturbed as can be down there, so
Yes,
it's
it
really
is.
kinda,
Yeah.
I don't know, doesn't make any difference to me, but,
Okay,
the logs would make it, so he's not tracking, and they're planning on using an excavator and a chipper.
are they gonna chip them on site? Is that what they're gonna do?
That's the way it was,
Okay.
portrayed to us, which is fine. And there was quite a bit of logs that I would assume they're gonna burn or, firewood or whatever, but just to kinda get that stuff out of there, and there is a lot of it, so, that's a job for sure. Yeah, I think that was really the biggest part of it. I don't know where they were gonna chip it and bring it, or were they gonna haul it off-site, or,
Yeah, Michelle Sullivan's 314 Southford Road. So the plan is that they're going to remove the logs to outside of the restricted area, and then we can use them for heating our house this
Okay.
winter. So the plan
Okay.
is to reuse there
Okay.
where we can, because we've always burned wood. But they're gonna chip all of the branches as well as any of the other, natural debris that's in that entanglement down there. It's definitely a mess.
a lot of it can be grabbed, I guess, right from just off the driveway where there's kind of a skirt there.
Mhm.
Some of it, they may have to drive down the embankment a little bit to get it, but, I don't
The
see.
damage is done at
The
this point.
damage is so,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, imagine trees with a bunch of stuff wrapped around it from where it got pushed in, and they're just trying to, get that cleaned up and all the down trees. I don't think there was any plan to take down any live trees
There's
or,
no plan. We'd
know.
like to keep the trees that are left.
Well, they-
we lost something like 100 trees in the process.
yeah,
so.
they're just, trees are just kinda everywhere, so
Mhm.
the ones that are down or leaning or falling over, I mean, just, make it so that they're not gonna be an issue in the future.
And the property boundaries are still staked, so there's no issue of operating on property
Yep.
that isn't
Is-
theirs.
Is the bridge that was washed out, is that part of this
No.
application?
No, that's a separate,
We'll get to
separate
that in a
application.
minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any questions for the applicant, anyone? Any concerns, or Tom, you look like you wanna say something?
No?
No? All right, then I'll make a motion to, approve application F2022 according to our normal draft resolution.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's see, 427 Old Field Road, John Hine. You go by Jay though, right? Yeah. Okay. He has a property along Heritage Road there, and, it's a beautiful flat piece of property. Much of it is used as a hay field. And, Bullet Hill Brook, I guess that is, right? It runs the length of the property someplace around 900 feet or so. Tom and I went out and looked at that. The bridge, adjacent to his property got washed out in the storm, and it's closed. And the resulting water caused damage to most, if not all, of the brook banks on his property. There is a plan he has submitted here.
That's the lot on the corner. correct?
Yes,
Yep.
yeah. And in my,
There's a bunch of sand and stuff out in the field, right?
in my site visit report, I'm estimating that approximately half of that needs some sort of repair work of some kind or the other. There's a couple of trees that the erosion, disturbed the roots, and they've tipped over the brook and need to be taken out. The good news is that the access for this property really couldn't be much better. It's flat, it's open. If he needs to get down in there, he can do it without having to take down any other trees or vegetation or anything, as far as I can tell. And he's proposing to, reach out and pick what larger boulders he can out and use them to put against the bank. And then I think they're also calling for like 7 loads of additional material to be brought in to stabilize the banks. He's trying to put it back as close as practical to what was there pre-storm.
And I guess the intent is to keep it from migrating or losing any more of your pasture or anything like that.
Yeah, the south side of the brook has got a pretty considerable slope for almost the whole property, right? 3/4 of it or something. So when the water came down there, it got pushed off the bank and then towards the opposite side,
Yep.
which saw the bulk of the erosion.
Like,
Have I got it right so far?
Sir.
Okay.
And I mean, there's no, I guess the only question would be, is there an option to leave it? Is that worse than doing this, all this work? And I'm not suggesting that you don't, I'm just asking the question.
I think, my name is Jay Hine, 427 Oakfield Road. Leaving it, it would, I don't even know if we were ever to get a serious rain again, the damage would, and part of the brook is so filled in down the far end with stones that I have no idea where they came from, that the brook used to be about 5 feet below the field level. Some of it's even now.
Oh, wow, okay.
And, so that would do a lot of damage, like, it would affect Ewald Park,
Sure.
because it's all like right there, and it would just wash away so much more of the bankbed. The one side is, held up very well. The south side of the brook has a lot of vegetation, tree roots, and all that seems to be holding up. The north side is where we would have to, reinforce with, rocks and stuff.
Okay.
We're gonna leave all the existing trees and root systems we can.
Yeah.
So I think once we get started in it, we would be able to put most of it back to where it was
Okay.
and, not affect too much of anything else.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it seems like if it's filled in that much, if we're talking about an inch of rain, tomorrow or more.
They're talking 2 to 3 inches tomorrow.
Yeah, and all the wind and everything, so, if that keeps flooding your fields and, your field there, you'd have to do something about it.
Well, I
so.
think the banks were reasonably stable before this event, and now that it's cut it, it's all loose sand and gravel in there, so it's just gonna
Okay.
continue to,
Does this go all the way down to the bridge?
Yes.
yeah,
Um,
essentially, yes, yep.
Now, the state has mandated that we're going to remove that bridge and put a two-lane bridge in there.
And that's,
correct.
that's
No,
a
that's the
different
other
bridge.
This is
That's-
He's,
yeah.
he's adjacent to the main, bridge on Heritage Road.
Oh, Heritage Road.
His
okay.
property abuts
Okay.
Heritage Road.
The one that
Okay.
just got repaired. That bridge.
What's that?
The bridge that just got finished
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
couple
Just
years
did
back.
A year or so,
Yeah.
2 years ago. All right, any,
The only concerns I have is, after visiting the site and listening to what you want to do, any of the work in the stream, as far as trying to remove any of the silt and anything that's within the banks of the stream, all falls under deep guidelines.
okay,
I mean, it's stated in our regulations, if I interpreted them correctly, that any work done within the confines of the bank needs deep, would need deep approval.
okay.
And then, as far as, getting into the stream and things of that nature, there's more consideration that would probably need to be placed as far as placing turbidity curtains on the downstream side, down by Ewald Park, to protect any of the sediment or anything else from getting into the Pomperog River, with work that you were doing on the side slopes, and things of that nature.
Well, we're we're gonna keep everything to a minimum, like I said, this is coming out of our pocket, so.
I understand that.
So we're going to, we're gonna mitigate the work to the least amount as possible to effectively reinforce the banks. We don't wanna be digging out, what we don't have to touch.
I think what he's concerned about is where you mentioned that the level of the brook now, so you've got so much sediment in it that the level of the brook is nearly the same level.
Well, where
as-
I was talking about is mostly, stone. It was filled in with stone. So, what our intent was to do was take the stone that's there and just take it out and, make new banks out of it.
Yeah.
We wouldn't actually be getting into the river bedrock. We would stop at that point. You can clearly see where the stone has filled in. So we wouldn't,
I mean, and I think your point is that any disturbance is gonna
Within
create
the
some
riverbank.
turbidity that's gonna go, and you're talking about like sediment mixing in with the water and going downstream and just depositing somewhere else. So, yeah, I don't really know.
I don't know how you would, or what you would do to prevent, I don't know what you would use to prevent, but we would be digging the minimal amount as possible out of there and reinforcing the banks. It would be the same as whatever they did upstream all through, by Main Street. I didn't
Yeah.
notice anybody putting any catching, like, where all
Or
the
even-
work that was done upstream of the Bullet Hill, and we would be doing initially the same thing. that
Right
everyone
by
else.
the bridge there, I mean, I'm sure they pulled some of that riprap out when
Which one?
So at the end of the day, the onus is on
they
you
Heritage Road,
to.
no, not Heritage Road, Oldfield.
The onus is on the applicant to require any necessary permits for the project. It might be in your best interest to consult, a civil engineer or someone about the project and get an opinion, or perhaps inquire as to whether or not you need any other permits. So I think what we'll do here tonight, if the commission is agreeable, we'll vote on your application, and if it passes, we'll add that to the agreement, to the permit agreement. Just notice you that you are responsible for any other permits that would be required at the site over there. And so it's probably worth a couple of phone calls just to see whether or not you need to take it to another level or not. The scope of the work that you're doing is not difficult or complicated, but there is some scope to it, 500 or more feet we're talking about fixing. So it's not, it's not your typical homeowner kind of situation either, so.
Will the town have to do the same thing when they fix the bridge? Will
The
they have
town
to-
will definitely do the same thing when they fix the
And
bridge,
people
yes.
that, did repair work upstream, did they have to do all that?
They will,
And
absolutely.
they did. They've already done a lot of work in the brook upstream from us.
Well, when they do the full bridge repair, they will have the full set of permits that we required to go with it. I don't wanna see you get in trouble, so that's why I'm thinking that's how we're gonna approach the situation. Being as how there has been so much damage in this part of the state, whether the DEP will even send somebody to look at it or not, is questionable in my opinion.
We're just trying to cover your
But-
interests.
At the same point, as soon as the equipment and everything goes down there, somebody will be on the phone to somebody saying, what's he doing over there? So,
Is there and this is more directed to Jordan, is there a, amount of disturbance or work, that we're allowed to permit inside of a brook? I mean, we've got crossings and culverts.
We have our regulated activities as it's pertaining to our wetlands regulations. DEP and Army Corps of Engineer have federal entities that supersede us as far as their requirements.
Sure.
They have their own subset of regulations. Our requirements are, we authorize per the wetlands regulations and per the requirements that are within our actual Southbury regulations. Everything else that's done through Army Corps and DEP is completely held through them. It's my understanding.
That falls on the homeowner.
Yes.
As far as, and I think I understand that, but
I believe it's anything in excess of 5,000 square feet of impact.
Yeah, I mean,
It depends on who we're
Requires-
talking
requires-
about, whether it's Army Corps or it's DEP, because DEP, it's the fact that it's the stream that causes the review.
Well, that's the initial thrust of it, but if the amount of impact is less than, I believe, 5,000 square feet.
For
then-
DEP,
For DEP, it then falls back to but with the length, the length of the affected area. of
well, that's the other
property.
thing, because
I mean,
stream
it-
bank
it-
maintenance, the second you hit a lineal foot threshold, you're into Army Corps.
Yes,
So there's requirements on both ends that are pointing the
Correct.
finger at a lot of different people.
Yep.
So the reality is the onus is on the applicant to get that information and make sure that their requirements are met as it's related to their property. Because Carl brings up a good point, Jay. You're as visible as you could be on your property, and an excavator operating near a major water course is gonna raise some questions. And if someone in the know drives by and starts poking around and questions, hey, do they have DEP approval? And then it comes out that you don't, you have a problem on your hands. And this
Or if
commission
you-
doesn't
or
want to
if-
see you go down that route, because they want to make sure you have everything done. And when they issue that approval, you're good.
the DOT has had emergency approval to, we were just talking about Kettletown,
Mhm.
to do whatever they felt, sort of,
Yeah.
whatever they felt necessary to do. I mean, you
I would
got a similar
like-
situation here where like this is, filled in on him.
Mhm.
And now when we get an inch or 3 inches of rain tomorrow, this fills up his whole property.
What
because
I've
it's-
seen, because I've had a lot of correspondence with Army Corps and DEP after all of this, is they understand the situation Southbury's under, and they understand the situation that the residents are under. If people operate outside, they're happy to come back and try and reel them in and get things corrected, even if it's an after-the-fact sense.
Okay.
But they're understanding of this. You just don't want to ask forgiveness rather than permission in these senses, because then the understanding goes out the window. So.
The other comment I had, just sort of something to keep in the back of your mind, when the town of Southbury did the work on River Road over there,
Mhm.
they split it up into several applications to stay underneath some of the
criteria.
guidelines per.
And you may quantify this too, I mean, I
So
don't
you
know.
might
Less than
consider
5,000.
phasing it and doing.
What's crucial? What can
doing
wait?
Doing
Yep.
150 feet of it at a time or something.
Because you and I both know that crucial area is right next to your house, where the slopes are as significant as possible. Like Carl said, 3/4 of it, once you get farther down, your field effectively becomes a floodplain, because the grade of the field meets the water table. There's really no concern of significant erosion at that point, because you don't have banks that the stream bed's gonna beat up against. It's just gonna move over,
Well,
and
I
then
did.
flood your field.
I did have banks prior to
Yes.
All the deposition, right. So,
this.
So-
I figured whatever was upstream, I owned it now.
Yeah.
oh,
no,
for
you-
sure, yeah. And it
Everything
reinforced
that
your
washed
bank's
out
word.
around- Everything that washed out from around the bridge is 100 yards down the brook there. So there's a couple of ideas for you anyway. That's where maybe getting a professional involved might be worth,
And Jay, my office is a resource, whatever direction you need as far as contact information.
I guess what I'm gonna do then, from the commission's perspective, is, I'll make a motion to approve that application F2023 and add the notice to the agreement that, the applicant is ultimately responsible for any other permits that might be required on the site.
I'll second that.
Any further questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, guys.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, application F2019, 314 Southford Road. This is Ms. Sullivan and Ms. Groman. We had, I believe, this application before us last month, and we were looking for some additional information.
Do you need a
I
hand or a
understand
chair?
that I understand
You got
that
one?
we have,
Okay.
excuse me, that we have it. And I was told that the work has been completed, is that correct, sir?
Is it fully complete?
It's not fully complete,
Okay,
but
it's,
past.
it's underway, okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, my name's James DeMayo. I'm a professional engineer. My address is 1 McConney Grove in Derby. I'm gonna keep it really short and sweet because I feel like you guys have probably heard about this a lot and already have your own opinions. So again, the driveway was washed out, and it services 3 residential homes during the flood. So what was there was a 3-foot and a 4-foot culvert. We upsized it to a 5-foot, so 60-inch culverts. And
Single culverts or
two
5-footers?
Yeah, 2 5-footers. So there was a 3 and a 4, and now we're 5 and 5. And then basically we're going to be armoring the embankments. We also have water collars this way. Again, what ends up happening when the water hits the pipe, it follows the pipe. So this way it'll prevent it from erosion, and hopefully be good. I don't know exactly what information, so I'm more than happy to try to answer any questions that you guys have.
Could you start by explaining to me what a water collar is?
Yes.
I'm not familiar with that term.
Yes, sir. So there's multiple ways to do it.
To get the water in the pipe,
Well, no. So this water collar actually goes on the outside of the pipe.
okay?
The easiest way for me to describe it, one of the first water collars that I've ever used professionally, it was basically we formed up around the outside of a pipe and poured it in concrete, but basically 1 foot around the diameter. So this way, as water hits the pipe, it'll want to travel on the outside of the pipe too, and it finds the path of least resistance. So it'll keep trying to go on the outside. That collar is there to stop it. So it may go a couple feet and then hit that collar and stop. If that collar's not there, what ends up happening is, so you see it a lot on like the outlets of detention basins. If they just have a pipe or a control structure with a pipe that's exposed on the outside, water will find it and erode that bank. So over time, that section of the basin will fail. It's just a matter of time. So that's the purpose of it. This
Okay.
one is a manufactured version of that, is what they actually used. But essentially, that's the concept of it.
Okay.
So
And,
it's not a concrete wall per se, it's
No.
a collar around the
Correct.
end, on the inlet.
Correct. So this is basically it's a membrane, and it was installed, a couple feet into the grade a little bit, so it's not exposed, so you don't see it, but it's just a couple feet in. This way, if the water starts to go, it will stop there and not go all the way through, and then next thing you know, you're having sinkholes and
Is
other.
that ABS or is it like a geotextile or?
This one was like an ABS.
And-
That's that darker
Yeah.
black line? on
Yeah,
your- Nope,
y-
to the next one, man.
Oh yeah,
That
Yes,
guy.
This right here. This would be the anti-seep collar.
Yeah, that's-
How far
So
below
what-
the culvert does it project into the ground?
So it's
Yeah,
it only sticks out about a foot beyond the outlet of the pipe. So
Does any of it extend below the invert of the pipe to prevent scour?
yes, so
It's gotta
it's
show.
a full. The easiest way for me to describe it is probably like if I took this sheet of paper, this would be the collar, and I take the pipe and jam it right through the middle.
Okay.
So it's literally around 360 to stop water from going on the bottom, top, sides, all around. It also helps lock that pipe in too, so
Is
hopefully
it
it doesn't move.
Two separate collars or one collar for 2 pipes?
One collar per pipe.
Okay, so they're, in the middle, they're overlapped?
Yeah, I mean they're far enough away that it's not,
Okay.
but yeah,
So the pipes are not going next to each other? They're separated by some
they
distance?
do have a gap. Yeah.
And does that key into the stream bank somehow?
Essentially, yeah, it will project a little bit further down into the bank.
The pipe itself, is that set
At
down
the,
in?
at the new bank elevation, or at the new stream elevation. Because after the flood, that elevation is now dropped, which caused all the other problems of the pipes have to be now longer than they once were, because now we need to make the grade. So the driveways were fixed elevations, and now the bottom has now gotten lower. So now, the property owners have spoken to the neighbors, they've agreed to allow them to put fill on their property and have grading easements and everything else, to allow them to have access.
What period of storm would you estimate that this is good for?
So what I evaluated, I ended up evaluating utilizing stream stats. This is something that Deep utilizes as well, and Army Corps. I know on a couple of my other projects, due to the storm, this is the first thing that they look at. So it evaluates the whole watershed into this area.
Okay. About how many acres is that?
It is 0.85 square miles.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to say it was in like the. I
It's
had
gotta be
this, but I
several
forgot.
thousand acres, right?
It was a few hundred. It's like mid hundreds, like
Mid-hundreds?
500,
Okay,
500, I think, or 600.
all right.
So just as a reference, Carl, based on that standard, under 1 square mile, and the state code would deem that to be requiring a 50-year storm design.
So yeah. So that would be for a normal design. However, a lot of my conversations lately with Deep and Army Corps, again, because of the storms, they're one of their other main concerns is your potential to flood downstream properties. So if basically you never sent water down below, like again, we had a 3 and a 4. Let's just use 3-foot pipes for an example. If we only had a 3-foot pipe previously, and now we opened it up to something significantly more, we have the potential now to negatively impact everybody downstream on a lot of smaller storms that were never impacted before. So that's the hesitation with just upsizing. But that is the requirement for their self-verification. But
Well, part of that would mean that you have to have an impoundment from which that is draining, correct? If you have an impoundment, a pond, let's say, and it's drained with a 3-foot pipe,
correct, but I mean,
and
this is a
then you
brook.
put a 5-foot pipe in, it won't retain the water in a storm event as much, it will just let it flow.
Yeah, it doesn't regulate it as much, correct? Yeah.
But that's not really an issue here, is it?
It can be if we oversized it. So if we came in and decided let's fully follow those guidelines for the self-verification of the 50-year. Is it 50-year plus 1, or is it just 50-year?
50 is sub 1, 100 is plus.
Yeah. So for the 50-year, what could end up happening is we could be sending so much more for the 25-year down that it becomes a problem. So they've, on some other applications that I've been part of, they've shied away from just blindly upsizing. Like I went from a 3-foot culvert on another project, and in order for me to comply, I would have had to be, 4 foot high by, I want to say it was like 10 feet wide or something silly, and they were just like, yeah, no, that's not, we agree, let's not do that. Just because, again, it was going to negatively impact. But, so they do some evaluation, and they do work with applicants, especially with the storm, so, I'm not necessarily worried about that problem and dealing with that jurisdiction with this.
Approximately how much material is there from the top of the pipe to where the driveway surface would be located?
It's less than 1,000 cubic yards. I believe. Oh, height?
Yes.
Just pure height? Oh,
Yes.
that's a good one. I didn't even think about that one. We have 3 feet.
3 feet. Have you been on site during any of the construction activities?
I have not.
Would they normally need to be compacting the material as they fill it? Because it's a pretty considerable amount here, right?
Yeah, they would need to compact it. The main concern with that would be the settlement with the driveway. So again, it would
Are they limited to what they can compact with? Those are plastic pipes we're using?
Yeah, no, they're okay.
No limit to that. We recently had another application come in somewhat similar to this, and the engineer made provisions such that if the flow was too much for the pipes, that it was designed that it would overflow without causing erosion to the.
Yep, so the entire embankment is gonna be rip-wrapped, on both sides, all the way up to the surface, and then the end goal would be to repave the driveway, cause it was paved and it's paved before and after. So at that point, if water overtops it, it's all riprap and pavement, so.
Would you use, would you armor the banks starting with a larger riprap and then smaller diameters to get it? And would you be like compacting that in place? Cause it's very fine material over there from what I saw.
Yeah, not the riprap, because the riprap you have to bring in anyway.
Okay.
It's not something that you're really gonna find on site, because
Right.
anything you find on site in like areas like this, it's gonna be too rounded.
Okay,
You know what I mean? Yeah, you really want kind of something jagged.
right. So
Um,
what are you gonna armor the banks with?
Modified riprap. So again, it's
Okay.
you know
6 inch diameter.
I think it's like 6 to 10 is the main component of them, and then it's going to be about 1.5 feet thick or deep along the embankment.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a sizable amount of riprap. It's not just like, oh, we're just going to sprinkle it.
No, that's a typical detail standard.
Correct. It's in the Connecticut erosion sediment control manual, and it's
And that's the same process all the way up to the top of
all
the
the way up
driveway?
from bottom to top, because the water coming into that area is a concern of mine, but also the fact that the embankment has been washed out. So I know you guys have spoke about it on other applications even tonight, where if it did have vegetative cover and was held there, that's no longer the case anymore. It's all just sand and sediment on this embankment that is far too steep. And that's my fear. So at least in the areas that we're touching, we're going to be rip-wrapping completely.
Well, you're not changing the grade of the banks? And you just, right?
Yeah,
You're
no,
saying
so-
the bank, it was really too steep to begin with? Is that
Well, now it is.
Well,
Especially after everything that happened. So for instance, the water course coming down, or well, coming up, but now this got really steep. So we are going to try to blend it in and armor it, especially as the water's coming down the brook and going to impact our pipes and impact that wall. But we also don't necessarily want to just keep going indefinitely with armoring, because again, we'll never stop pretty much. It's just going to keep going. So
That's what was my next question is, I mean, you have it shown on there and I'm looking at it. I was out standing on the edge looking across the span,
yeah.
thinking like, how far do you keep going? I mean, it's like,
That's kind of the problem, and we have the narrow access way
Yeah.
between the properties. You know what I mean? The area that we have to work is limited. The neighbors were gracious enough to give the grading easements. So, again, it's blending it in, trying to evaluate, how the water is going to be impacting it and how it's going to kind of, interact in that little stream right there, and just try to make it as nice as we can.
is the driveway paving part of this application?
Yeah, it would be part, yeah.
Okay.
So that'd be the end goal. I mean, obviously it's not getting done this year.
That's no formal drainage, it's just sheet flowing off the driveway?
Yeah, as it was previously, yep. So again, it's restoring it back to its previous condition.
Close to previous?
Yeah, as close as we
Yeah.
can, you know what I
Okay.
mean? And that's where we're trying to get to.
All right.
Can I just ask one question real quick? The one thing I didn't hear answered, the setting of the pipe, the bottom of the pipe's elevation, where is that in relation to the head of the stream water right now?
So the bottom of pipes are set at the new stream elevation.
So they're just set on top of the stream, they're not embedded into the stream at all?
No.
So pretty standardly, these pipes would be set at least 1 foot into the stream bed, just to have a stream bed interaction that was conducive to aquatic life, conducive to the flow, and to reduce the scouring underneath the system.
The reason for not doing that, would be to, you know, again, I don't believe, or at least as far as my knowledge is, I don't believe that that was the previous conditions. And then also that will take away from any additional, a lot of the additional increase in flow that we're trying to,
Well, you've already achieved the increase in flow based on the oversized pipe. So
Yeah,
the need to increase
but-
it even more by not setting it at the necessary depth wouldn't really be necessary at that point. Because you've already achieved the higher flow rate, because the pipes are oversized.
but if we embed them, then we lose that oversize.
Not all of it.
Not all, I agree, not all of it, but.
Quite a bit of it is still retained.
Yeah, but that, yeah, we wouldn't lose all of it. But again, it was trying to, again, match the existing conditions with this situation.
Got it.
You know, I do feel if this was a different type of application, I feel like the conversation would have been a little bit different, or the approach would have been a little bit different. But again, the game plan was to just put it back as best as we could to how it was previously and try to gain
What-
access back to the
What's
house.
the elevation of the outlet? Is it such that fish can still migrate up through those pipes, or are you gonna have a drop going down to the?
It's matching whatever the
Well,
slope.
I'm not
and-
asking you what was there, I'm asking you what you're putting in. I don't
No,
know,
no, no,
nobody
we're-
really knows, I don't think.
The intention is to match what is there today at the inlet and the outlet.
Basically set on to
Correct.
grade right in the stream.
Yes, so this way, if there's a foot of water in the stream, upstream and downstream, there's gonna be a foot of water in the
Gotcha.
pipe.
All right, I think we'll need to make a motion to continue this so that we can have a site visit to see what's occurred out there and whether it corresponds with the plan that we have and appears to be appropriate for the situation.
Can I just ask one question?
Absolutely.
If the, what's being done as far as bypassing the water while the pipes are being installed? And is it being just pumped around the area, what set controls are in place, et cetera?
So in terms of bypassing, that really wasn't a concern for this. When it was installed, it was during a time of low flow, and there wasn't excavation needing to be required and working in that area. So they were able to pretty much set the pipes in, because it was already open, and start to backfill.
Yeah, there wasn't much water when we were there, for sure.
No, I think
the
it's
other
mainly,
application, but
mainly a
still.
storm conveyance, like it's not just like
I don't
a
think
heavy flow.
in a normal year, there's that much going through there, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Nobody expects a 10-foot wall of water to come through, or however much it was, come through there.
yeah, I know everybody keeps saying, oh, 1,000-year storm. It wasn't a 1,000-year storm. It was well over that in terms of magnitude. I know in my municipality, no. We got hit
It
hard.
was a tsunami.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to estimate, it's like the 10 millionth order storm. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
even close.
Well, the gentleman that was here earlier told me that at Stevenson Dam, they
Yep.
had 17 inches of rain.
16-1.
And at the other one up there was like 2 inches, so it
Yeah.
was very localized.
Yeah, I mean,
Bizarrely so.
yeah. Before I
We got 17.
during the normal dam, the town engineer in Monroe, we got 16.1 at the Stevenson. So we got hit hard. Not as hard as not really as hard as you
No.
guys, but
I got 12.
Just as
Everybody got
a-
more than they needed.
Correct.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And then we got nothing for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that all about?
Just as a point of order, the grading easement will need to be filed
Yep.
on the town clerk's records before we can move forward with anything regarding this application. And as was with the other application, likely there will be a condition on this one, if this commission feels so inclined, that mimics the previous approval.
Agreed.
But an
Yeah,
easement,
yeah,
an
there's no concern with that.
easement will have to be filed as soon as we can.
I have them.
Yeah, we have the document, so yeah, again, not a problem for.
We'll just
Okay.
get it filed in the town clerk's record, so
Yep.
drop by my office and
Alright.
we'll just discuss that and then we'll send you down there and get it
So I
filed.
made a motion to continue and schedule a site visit.
I'll second it.
And seconds, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, let's see what's next.
1736.
We have, 1746 South Britton Road. We don't have, that continue, are we good with the time on that one?
We did get an extension request
Okay,
by the representative.
all right. We're
This
still
was,
waiting on an engineer plan?
yes and no. This was the one where, if you recall, Mark Lancourt was really spinning his wheels on what he was gonna design the storm for. That site's so confined, there's a dam, there's.
And the applicant had his own ideas. and-
Exactly, yeah. I think the 15-year storm was getting floated around because the second you jump up to something else, his design changed so drastically. So he just wanted clarity on what this commission was looking for. I consulted with our on-call engineer. That's what me and this previous applicant's engineer were just discussing, is that the general format for storm data is based on the square mile drainage basin area and whether or not it's sub 1 square mile or greater than 1 square mile, which would change it from a 50 to 100-year storm. Effectively, what this commission wants to address, you guys are okay. Yeah, totally fine. You're fine.
Thank you.
What this commission will want to address is not necessarily floodplain concerns, because that's not within this commission's purview, but really what are the effects that could occur from a wetlands perspective if something like a blowout were to occur. That's really where these storm designs and understanding these designs are going to hold is important to this commission, because if we're approving things that blow out every 15-year storm, we have more wetlands issues than we can even handle. With that being said, essentially, if an applicant can't meet the standards that this commission is looking for, they will just have to represent how they're making accommodations to alleviate any concern from a future blowout or a wetlands deposition, pollution, whatever the effect is. That's what this engineer would essentially have to do if he wasn't able to convey that we could meet a 50-year storm, and that's what's required by you guys, and that's what we're meeting. If he can't effectively get that to meet, explain to this commission why and what concessions you're making.
Do you happen to know if he estimated what the existing structure in there would have related to as far as storm
The
period?
3 and the,
Did he say that, or?
like,
Didn't he at the other meeting?
so the 3 and the 4-foot culvert, you mean? What would
Yeah.
that storm event handle? Is that your question?
Talking about the South Britton application with this masonry bridge.
His masonry arch.
Apologies.
No problem.
Can you ask your question again?
Do you know if Mark Lancourt estimated what the original structure there would have been rated for a storm event?
I don't,
Okay,
but just based on the fact that he was playing with the idea of a 15-year design that would be kind of an improvement on
Yeah.
the system, I would wager this thing wasn't rated for much at all.
No,
Well, the
it was
reason
maybe
I'm asking
3 or
is-
4 feet in height, and maybe what?
It's so confined out there.
And it
It's
blew out.
it's tall,
that
it's
too,
tall,
yeah, but you also have
very tall.
a
But
dam
it took
structure.
out,
There-
what was that, 20, 30 feet of
Next to
embankment next to it as well.
In order to accommodate the flow that was trying to get through there.
Yeah.
So God knows
Well,
what it looked like
I
before
guess the
that
point I was trying to make was that thing worked properly for 100 years or better,
Yeah.
Right, I don't disagree.
so.
And that's where, and,
If he's saying it was only designed for a 5-year storm or something,
right,
then that's probably all that's really necessary for the normal day-to-day operation of that brook over there, you know what I mean?
and to that point, every site's gonna be different.
Yeah.
What this engineer just represented to us was, they're making concessions on the storm data based on site-specific details. This one would be handled the same way. If this commission feels that the
Yeah.
applicant is able to effectively represent that a 5-year storm is gonna hold most of what's in there, then this commission should feel comfortable moving forward, as long as the wetlands considerations are addressed and that the engineer is giving you the confidence that you need. And we can always reference our own consultants
And
as
that's-
far as,
Well, that plus the fact, anything that they represent here, they're stipulating that they've met the requirements of Deep and Army Corps.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's,
Okay. So motion then to continue application F2008 until our next meeting.
I'll second it.
Dan seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's it for business, other than other business. Show cause hearing continued, that's gonna be ongoing. Are they in some kind of civil litigation?
Yeah, I just got an update from Joe Ruggiero, I believe today, was it? It's been a long day. But Joe Ruggiero is making headway. Effectively, they're moving into some form of litigation with
Okay.
the violator. What I had conveyed to Joe is, what I don't want this commission to be tasked with doing at this point is taking such a far step back to this enforcement action, having the land trust go through their processes, hit them with fines, hit them with civil penalties, whatever the case is, close the book on that, and then us decide, hey, by the way, opening the book on you again from a wetlands perspective, let's do this all over again and lash you twice. What I conveyed to Joe Ruggiero was, since most of the effect was done on the land trust's property, it would likely be, and we can see how things play out, but it would likely be the land trust that would be submitting the remediation plan to this commission, effectively performing said remediation. And if the remediation plan as submitted met your requirements to close the book on this enforcement action, then both parties have effectively got what they needed, and the issue has been addressed from a wetlands
Do
perspective.
you know if they've developed a plan, remediation plan yet?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Okay.
And that's the land trust, so we'll work
Okay.
with them, and they'll be good stewards of the land, in my opinion.
All right, so that will be continued. Do we need to vote on that?
No,
Okay.
thank you, Carl.
Anything that either of you would like to bring forward to the commission?
Our enforcement officer resigned, so we will be putting out a notice to put that job posting back out and see if we can get another enforcement days that I wasn't able to attend. So really appreciate you guys doing the extra work, and the attendance we have tonight is great. So really appreciate all the hard work you guys have been doing through this entire process as we've been dealing with all this. And we just got hit with 6 other new applications, and those are pretty big ones from a commercial perspective. So our work is far from done, so I appreciate all the help that you guys are providing here.
Okay.
I need it.
You wanna do bills and receipts or correspondence?
There's none.
Nothing? You didn't collect money from all them new applicants?
Oh, it'll be a
They will-
big one.
they
Next
will
week
be
it'll be
actually
or
this-
next
the-
month.
The ones that we just got, the new applications, came in last Friday. So we will be getting a chunk in with my fiscal report for the next one, so.
Okay, I haven't seen the minutes. You have minutes? Did anybody see, did you send minutes?
Mhm.
You did. I didn't see, anybody see them?
I saw him.
You saw
I
them?
didn't
Okay.
have any,
Everybody,
see anything out of the
those that
ordinary.
saw them, do we
Yep.
think they're good?
Yeah, so
I
we can
didn't see
approve the
them.
minutes.
I missed them somehow.
I'll motion to approve the minutes.
All right, well, I guess we don't really need.
plan sheet that was attached to the, I guess, the email that came out this afternoon. There was a I guess this is gone,
That was for the other applicant.
right,
Yeah, it
which is
wasn't-
now gone by the wayside?
No, no.
Because
That was previously, you forward.
That was from last
That was
month when
from-
I sent. The one that
That
I,
wasn't from the applicant tonight, that was from the one we approved last month.
right, but the one that was here tonight is the one that got built.
Correct,
correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we
I'm curious.
correct.
Yeah.
So that's why we're
Yeah, so
going out to
we-
look at it, cause it was
Moved along.
not done, it was
There
not
was 2
permitted.
separate plans, and they had to
So
come to an
there-
agreement, and they
Yeah.
did, which is, I think, what we were presented with tonight.
Wow.
No?
No,
Instead of the situation being less problematic over there, I think it's
It's
gone to
escalated.
a whole nother level now.
They were both here together, though.
No,
No, they weren't.
No,
No, the one
Three
that,
properties.
presented this plan
was not here.
with the oversized box culvert was not
Right.
here.
No, she
Oh,
wasn't.
that,
She
okay.
wasn't
If
here.
you remember, Charlie Spath was the engineer representing that.
I'm mixing them up now,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I don't doubt it. So, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, if they can all be.
But they.
Because I thought that was the 2 women that were sitting here for
Yeah,
the
apparently
314,
they're
I was like,
installing
that would be
the
great.
2
The
pipe
two
system.
lights, how, wow.
But the box culvert thing is not gonna be installed then?
Well, right now, they're installing the 2 pipe system.
Okay.
Goal is to get a site
And they're
visit.
on, so the person installing it
Okay.
is on someone else's land, half of it. So I don't know how it's gonna shake out. So we're just gonna go look at what they got over there, see if it matches with what they have on the plan, and
But this
decide
is- but
if
this
the
isn't- this
commission
isn't
wants
the
to
plan.
approve it with
We
the
have
same
we have a separate
stipulation as
set.
the other
I
one.
got
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Okay.
it's
We
in the app.
voted on the other set too, we
Yes.
approved the other
We
set.
approved it, but they won't get issued a permit unless everybody, all the owners are sign off on it.
Yeah, Mike, the same condition that
So-
went on, Miss Donna Jacob Stevens' permit would be that the other property right owner would have to authorize in writing the proposal.
Right.
Subsequently, Miss Donna Jacob Stevens, based on the previous condition, the same option would be afforded to her, and she would have to authorize the two-pipe design in order for the two-pipe design to gain a valid permit. We may be in a situation where we have two invalid permits floating in limbo, because
Oh
the
my God.
property owners
Wha-
cannot
While
get,
construction is going on.
construction's almost done.
I mean, I'm glad to see that they can get in and out of their properties.
Probably the
but
best
that-
result of all this, but it's been a real weird way of getting there, and
Yeah.
I don't think we're far, I think we're far from being done with this, so.
And Mrs. Stevens was not here, so.
She was not, she had conveyed, we've been in discussion with her, we've gotten correspondence from her, she made us aware of what was going on out there, as well as attorney opinions that have been flown to all parties. It's been a long road getting here, we'll see where it goes.
But they've got an application, a permit to do work on somewhere where they don't own the property.
They don't have a permit.
They wouldn't have a
Or they,
permit.
oh, I'm sorry, they don't have a permit yet.
No.
No.
But the, but the pipes are in?
If you guys, and that's a civil matter. We're handling it from a wetlands
Oh, no, no,
regulation
I get it, I
standpoint,
just, you know,
Well, trust me, trust me, I've been playing lawyer in my head for the last 3 months, trying to figure out how
Well-
this gets addressed.
in one way, I don't blame them for let's just do it. See what happens.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
they really gotta have some kind of access over there, but, you know.
Well,
I-
that's
I
right, and that's the only thing,
So-
the reason I say that is because they don't have access to it. I don't-
If it was me, I probably would've dropped a temporary bridge across there, but hey,
Anyways,
okay, we
motion
will
to
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn,
Yep. Second.
Second.
seconded.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank God.
Sorry.